No.
I'm like in the extreme. Yeah.
Just taking the margin of that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the board meeting. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. And would you all please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a quorum, missing, board member all right tonight, but we do have a quorum. Changes to the agenda, given one. Yeah. We're gonna remove policy DJC and DJCAR from the action agenda. And we're gonna postpone them to the November meeting.
Number 4, more A.
Not having to, you think we do a chat or wait tonight or you
You didn't do hardly any good to my mouth. I feel pretty good.
and Rachel thought you would chat or wait tonight.
Yep.
Great. All right, let's get on to the best part of the board meeting. Every single time, accolades.
100%. So this is our first batch of superintendent awards for the year. Superintendent awards are teachers one opportunity for the entire year to brag about one of the students that they have in their class. They only get one of these a year. And so they have to choose very wisely. So this comes with a great deal of importance. So we've got 4 of them tonight, and these are going to be examples of students who are doing great things in our schools. These are the shining examples and the opportunity to brag and kind of show off the great things that are happening. Let's start with Annika and her teacher, Ms. Lee.
So this year I'm giving the award to Annika because she's been in my class for 2.5 years, forever now, since 7th grade. And she's always impressed me. Like, admittedly, I was a little timid of her due to issues she had early on, but she has shown her throughout the time that she is gonna push through those barriers. She's going to work harder than just about anyone else in the class. She is going to continue to try. I mean, every day she comes into class and she does her push-ups and she does her sit-ups and she does her warm-ups. And she has gotten stronger for it. I mean, she's improved her mile time by at least 6 minutes. Yeah. So she's just super impressive. I have a lot of very naturally gifted athletes that don't do a lot in my class. And then when I get students that have the challenges that Annika has, and then they put in the effort and you can see the growth, it's just a wonder to behold, right? She's a great mentor for her classmates because she puts in the work and she shows that putting in the work makes progress. It makes the results happen that you want to see happen. And on top of all that, she's a great classmate. I mean, she's got her friends that she hangs out with. I love hearing them laugh and giggle together as they're whacking the volleyballs at each other. They help each other out. If you're not doing this right, try this thing. I mean, they're always supportive for each other and they're always trying. So, Annika, I'm very impressed by you and I hope you keep it up. That is awesome.
This is nice ones.
Did y'all on that mile? I didn't even pick up just to get a 6-minute time.
How about Daniel and Daniel's teacher, Mrs. Walls?
You'll do great. So I found out that I had to give, our superintendent award and we got the honor of going first, which like Mr. Zumke pointed out, it's a lot. It's our only one for the whole year, but, Daniel made it easy. When I think of the word resilience, I think of Daniel. He faces a struggle head on. He's never afraid to ask questions. He powers through when things get tough. He's not afraid of a challenge. He's an awesome friend. I love to see him and his buddies playing at recess, and they're always willing to include anybody else who's interested. Daniel is our sweeper at the end of the day. That's his classroom job. And he is such a hard worker in that aspect. He actually was recommended to me from his teacher from last year. She said, if you need a sweeper, Daniel's your guy. And part of the reason for that is because of his ability to talk to others and encourage them to help as well. He's not going around and cleaning up other people's messes, but he also takes his job very seriously. So Daniel, I can't tell you how happy I am to have you in my class, and to his parents, thank you for everything that you've done. He is such a hard worker and just the absolute definition of resilience. That's
Harvey, right?
Charlie.
How about Charlie and her teacher, Mr.
All righty, so I'm gonna go off of my written statement. In the brief time that I've had to work with Charlie, dedicated, determined, patient, and pleasant are just a few words that come to mind. Charlie comes to class prepared and ready to help whoever may need it. Each morning, I can count on a thoughtful greeting and a smile as she walks in the door. Charlie is always where she is supposed to be in the classroom, always following along with her reading or notes, and always giving her best effort as she works. Charlie's attention to detail is impressive and stands out amongst the majority of her peers. Her notes are immaculate. Her organizational skills are top-notch, and while it may take her a little more time to copy everything off the board, I can always count on her using her notes as a positive example to the rest of the class. When I need a student to read, Charlie raises her hand. When I need a student to volunteer a guess, Charlie is ready. When I need to point to a student who is on task and in a sea of off task, Charlie can be seen, materials in hand and self in seat. As a sixth grade student, Charlie and her classmates are set in a strange limbo of sorts. Their curriculum is middle school, yet their school is elementary. And next year, they'll be up with the middle schoolers and high schoolers. For some of our students, this is the Paleozoic era of drama. From the primordial ooze, it bubbles and spreads from gossipy student to gossipy student. In the past, classroom drama has sunk the best of lessons, and with it, many a promising academic career. Thus far, Charlie has been able to stay above the fray, maintaining a level of politeness and manner hard to come by in these trying times. Over a brief period I've had to work with Charlie, it has been notably pleasant and enjoyable. Charlie's hunger for knowledge is insatiable, her dedication to the greater good is admirable, and her positivity is infectious. I am excited to see what Charlie can accomplish in this school year and beyond. Her academic career is as bright as her personality.
Which rounds us out for the evening with Callahan and to Miss McDuffie.
For both of you, this is okay. I think I'm
gonna read too.
I'm quite intimidated right now.
So I have been able to work with Callahan outside of the classroom. This year I have her in the classroom, and just this year, just starting out the year, I have seen, try not to cry because I cry about everything. So I've seen a lot of growth with Callahan, but I'm going to read this as well. So I've had the pleasure of meeting Callahan when she first moved here. After getting to know her and who she is, I've seen her struggle and succeed in and out of the classroom. This year, I have the opportunity to be her teacher in personal finance. I have seen a tremendous change in Callahan this year. She is motivated to learn in my class and participates in meaningful discussions. She shows up on time and prepared. The classwork she submits is thorough and meaningful. She takes my class seriously and is committed to doing her best in personal finance. Callahan has also shown me she has learned to handle tough situations, how to be professional, and how to handle hard conversations. I want to acknowledge the tremendous growth Callahan has shown. Her behavior has improved significantly, and it's not just me who's noticed. Other staff members have also mentioned to me how well she's doing and how proud they are of her. This is a testament to her hard work and her commitment, and I want to commend her for it. Callahan, I also want to express my pride in your achievements. You've worked hard and have shown your best self in my classroom, and I'm grateful to have you as my student this year. I know that your family plays a significant role in your success, and I am thankful to work with them to support you. Callahan, get listen to this part, okay? You gotta keep persevering through tough situations and maintaining your academic excellence, okay? And I'm incredibly proud of you.
Thank you.
I like to try to catch themes as I'm listening to those letters. So I was definitely hearing that we've got students who work very hard. And I was also hearing that we've got students who are great classmates, examples, friends. And so we have hardworking students who are great to be around. And that's part of our definition of who we are in Reedsport. have those teachers and those kids come up one more time. We have the obligatory group photo. And yes, we're gonna put it on social media, so, you got your certificate. Corbin, you're tall on the back.
Yeah, in the middle, you come over, stand over here. Yeah.
You gotta go over here, so.
Here, try to come over here. There you go.
There we go.
Switch hands.
Hold on. Watch this. Look at that.
Ready? Everybody look and smile at me a few times. I'm gonna take a couple because your mom will like your eyes open and your smile showing. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. Any community comment?
I didn't have any, check. Going on in the box.
And nothing on the board?
Not yet.
On the screen, okay. Let's move down to reports. And Josh, I want your share. We're gonna swing this to Rachel.
So I am the puppet here tonight, and Josh has provided me the information to share on the reports. First of all, are there any questions on the financial reports included in the packet at all? Yep, okay. So the news, the latest news in the financial world for the district. As you recall, last month, there was some conversation about some state statute issues that caused a decrease in the high school success funding. We have not had an updated allocation, but the Joint Emergency Board has closed the gap on that funding issue, and we should be being restored in that grant amount for the year. Of course, anything with ODE, we believe it when we see it, not when we hear it. So we're still waiting for updates on that, but that's good news that they have been diligent at the state level to try to make sure that they are providing the funding that they promised.
What does that mean for us in dollar amount?
I believe it's $80
Roughly 40.
for the Diamond, so 40 per year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The state school fund amount that we have right now is based on an ADMW or an ADMR, a real average annual membership of 590 students. Obviously, our enrollment is not close to that, so we made an adjustment. We asked the state to open the estimate of membership and revenue for the year, and we have adjusted that down to 560, which still may be a bit high. But we are going to continue to track that. And the idea behind changing that early in the year is to mitigate what our May adjustment will be this spring and the following spring as they close out this fiscal year in the state school fund. We have recently completed the initial part of the field work for our audit process. And part of the conversation during the audit process is in regard to the Oregon minimum standards that are used to audit municipal school districts. And anything that has to do with the state school fund is looked at with extra scrutiny because it affects districts all over the state. Recently, we've had some challenges in our transportation invoicing and billing and finding some inaccuracies, and also that we were paying for some routes that were not actually run, which means that it was inaccurately reported in mileage to the state. There's potentially going to be a finding in the audit over the transportation contract. We are still working through with the auditor on what the expectations are, but they are looking to find some kind of substantiation for the invoicing. Right now, our invoices have no dates on them, nor do they have mileage slips. So it's pretty arbitrary, and they need more substantiation than that to be able to meet the standards that they have to audit our school district on. After conversations with the district and with the vendor, our recommendation is to pursue an RFP for transportation, not to eliminate the current vendor that we have, because in all likelihood, it would still be a partnership. But we need to make sure that our 21-year-old contract is updated and meets the standards that we need to meet in today's times for what we are audited on for transportation in the state school fund. So that's about all I have to share for tonight.
So the RFP is for 3 low bid. Would that be it? It goes out to 3 people?
You want to try to receive 3. If 3 don't submit and you've at least made the effort to gain 3, then you're meeting that obligation. And it doesn't have to be the lowest bid because there can be other factors considered about the totality of the offer that is being presented.
Yeah, we would be able to put in the terms of what we are looking for and what point values are associated with what things. Oftentimes with a large contract, I mean, we paid them over $650,000 last year. It's a substantial amount of money. So whether a vendor is local or not local, those kinds of things, we can assess what point values we are looking for in the proposal and what's important to the district, while also following those standards.
What percentage of that total was overbid or overcharged?
I don't know that there is a percentage broke down right now. I don't think that we have all of the pieces or all of the information. When there have been requests from the vendor for us to provide more funding, we have always been pretty generous in making sure that they receive it, even if it's not following the terms of the contract.
So we don't know if this is a one-off or it's been going on for 10 years.
It's been going on for some time,
So the amount of money is probably what?
I would say, over the term.
So as part of the RFP, do we get reimbursed for some of that? Or is there a way to figure out over the period of time?
So yes, 2 separate conversations. So I think we continue to work with the vendor on what some of those discrepancies are. And then the RFP would be completely separate. We just really need to look at how this contract is laid out and make sure that the district's needs are met as well as the vendors. And there's some give and take because right now it's very heavy on the vendor side and the district doesn't really have a lot of opportunity for flexibility.
Well, is there value in trying to figure that out to recoup 10 years worth of indiscretions?
Yes.
Okay.
To clarify, going out for an RFP wouldn't have a discussion until November. I want the work to happen tonight, so we have the opportunity to consider the sorts of things to put into an RFP so that we set it up correctly. And the board is informed early so that as this process goes on through the school year, we can try to lay the foundation.
Okay.
Rachel, has this ever come up in previous audits?
It has not. Typically what they do in their testing has been for our ADM. So they swap school buildings every year and they do testing of the students to make sure that there aren't any fake students in the system or students that haven't been removed because they left and those types of things. And so the state has always really been focused on local property revenue and the ADM. And now it's more coming out of the other pieces that we have control over, especially when it exceeds that $500,000 mark because the state school fund has been under such scrutiny lately. They're adding to the minimum standards of what they have to audit.
So what are we budgeted for transportation? What are our numbers?
We budget just about that amount. So last year, we budgeted 625, and so we did go over what we budgeted last year. Generally, it's going up, we calculate what a percentage would be for increase every single year. I think I put in for $700,000 for this year in the estimate of membership and revenue because of cost increases. And then the last piece of news I wanted to share is that we received reports this week from the actuarials about what PERS rates will be for the next biennium. Unfortunately, school districts that have purchased debt in the past for their unfunded liability are having the percentages that were mitigated in the past, added back in a way because of the economy and how the returns weren't as high on those funds. So our PERS rates are going to exceed 6% increase next year. So we'll be talking more about that in the budget season, but just giving a heads up that our increases have been, 2-3%, maybe even less increase over the last several biennia, and they are going to exceed 6% this time.
I beat those nine.
And staffing being 65% of our budget, that's gonna be a sizable amount of money.
Is there any other thing that the state's talking about to look at or to help us with this? PERS? This problem with PERS?
They've been making some changes over the last decade, I would say, that are pretty significant. The most recent one is that the 6% employee pickup, where it used to be that it would go directly to the employee's pension. They started taking some of that away from the employee to pay off the debt. That happened 4 years ago, I believe. They were hoping that adjustment would be more effective in buying down the liability, but so far that hasn't been the return that they've seen because of the economy and how they're just not getting the rate of return that they expect. And the tier 1 and the tier 2 employees that retired, they have a guaranteed minimum return on their pension, and the economy is not keeping up with it.
Has somebody been working with our vendor to get him caught up to speed?
Yes. Had lots of conversations. Few meetings that we've had.
And they've been receptive. I don't think it's falling on deaf ears. So there is work happening.
And we'll get him figured out. Going down the right road.
Yes. Yeah, don't get me wrong, we appreciate the partnership, like it is invaluable how much we have appreciated the partnership. But it's kind of like when you're talking about budget and employees, you have to look at the positions and not the people. So we have to look at the funding and not the people. And sometimes that black and white is hard in a school district relationship.
Any questions, any more questions for Phil? Anything that had written?
I don't think I have any more bad in the screen now. I'll try harder next time.
I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Superintendent report.
Okay, first I'd like to introduce your special ed director, was not with us last month, but Robin Paddock. Our study director, we contract services from South Coast DSD 2 days a week now. And helping us keep everything afloat in that realm in the department. On the maintenance side, I'd like to alert the board that our school district is getting a facility review. Surprising facility review from the Department of Education. Not sure exactly what that got tied to, but several of us around the state are getting on, and we are one of them. Perhaps because we're in that facilities.
I thought everyone.
I'm not hearing everybody, but several of us, 40% of the state, so are getting that. And I think it has to do with the facilities. So it's grants the ancient books. It's just a couple of factors they determined that we needed to have this review. So we're scheduled for it, learn more about it, and do a report on it once it's done. That's coming up here in the next month or so. PACE has reached out to us because they have got some unique, PACE is our insurance adjuster through OSBA. We have a unique heating cooling system, and it reached out to us and wanted us to post the boiler tree the maintenance department was selected and we agreed to help out. We've got some unique setups and so other districts are gonna come get a boiler training and kind of learn in the unique situations that we have in our two boiler rooms, what some of the stuff is that is worth discussing. Case to focus on, we appreciate that they're looking at us, thought of us to host the training and use as a good example of what we can do and what's still possible, because we're doing a lot with those systems. And I don't know, I'm not going to ask Bob, because he'd have the ability to deal with some experience, there's a lot going on. And another thing happening out in maintenance, our director has been getting himself trained to handle our integrated pest management. That's everything from weed spraying to mice to bugs, and just all the things we need to do so that when there's application of chemical on our property that's done correctly, safely. Obviously, we've got students, we've got community use our facilities. We have to be sure that we're maintaining proper standards for everybody's health and benefit. So getting him licensed is going to help us in the long run by not having to pay vendors to do some of those things that can be costly. So I appreciate his willingness to work for us and take on that training. Later on in the agenda, you have some discussion. You had a work session 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, where we went over potential policies for cell phones, for uniforms, and for just positive school culture. So when you get to that discussion, please remember you're going to be considering where you might find target audiences and dates and times to hold those listening sessions. And the core question you were going to ask was, do we need a policy on cell phones, on uniforms, on positive culture? Along with that work session, we learned because nobody from the district was logged on to our system here, that work session did not get recorded. So the members of the audience who were here got to hear it. And if now we know that even if we hold a session, I need to go down the hall, turn on a computer, log in on the computer, so that the recording starts. So that work session was not captured, aside from what the audience observed who was here.
So what do we have to do? Redo it?
No, we don't need to redo it, but
Well, one of the audience, I talked to a guy, she watched it, on TV, or however she watches it.
yeah, people outside of our organization who watched got to see it. Which is fine, because nobody in our network, our organization logged on, it didn't record it. So it's done, we moved on, I just wanted to be on the record that we don't have that in the archive, where everything else up to this point has been archived. Part of that discussion, you asked me to reach out to the high school and hear from them about the cell phone policy in particular. To summarize a lot of what they're thinking is they're not seeing a difference between a cell phone ban and what they do now. And they've got some concerns about how we would monitor that, how we would enforce it and police it any differently than what is happening now. You've got a policy that doesn't allow them in your classrooms, and how would that look any different from a ban, because they're not supposed to be there in the first place. And so just a concern about the monitoring of that and how we, then if they're not allowed in the school at all. Some of the kids were not able to drive, contacting parents 5, 6 o'clock at night after practice, the school's closed, just some logistical issues that they wanted to bring up. So I think we reviewed at the work session what the policy is that Highland doesn't allow them at all, and that at the high school, they don't allow them in their classrooms. So that's pretty much the current status of where staff are at, and what we have going. Check. Last item. This is October, so we have a Division 22 update for you. Division 22 is our laws that we need to follow specifically in schools. And they range everything from the numbers of hours that we provide instruction, to how we monitor the types of licensure staff have, to the curriculum, to everything that is a funded and unfunded mandate, actually, health curriculums and facility access. We found 3 areas in our audit of Division 22 that we don't think were in compliance and need to work on corrective action plans. The first one is licensed staff evaluation. We did not have a complete return on our licensed evaluations last year. They weren't completely filled out, weren't completely done. So to correct that, we have set up a schedule to ensure that we know that everybody this year who needs an evaluation gets one. We'll know at the end of the year that we collected those evaluations before the deadline. And that's going to be our project for the year, to be sure that everybody who's supposed to be evaluated gets evaluated, and that we collect the artifacts and maintain those. Another area that we are going to look at, concussion, and concussion protocols are one of the Division 22 standards. We realized after we did our concussion training for athletes this year that we didn't collect our baseline data correctly and we needed to retest. So we're not in compliance. We'll need to do that again correctly next year. So we have a plan to start doing that before the start of the school year, before the athletes compete, and get a proper collection of baseline.
Is it in all schools? I just,
We do it before they start the year, establish their baseline so that if they get a concussion, their responses deviate. We test them again and we can tell, hey, they're not back to baseline, healthy status prior to the season.
Can you define baseline for me, John?
We can let you take a test on it because it's a couple bucks, but. The last one is our library media. Not having librarians this year and having the teachers use them and having volunteers help us reshelving and the collection, we're not gaining input from a licensed media person about our collection or about best practices. So that's an area we're going to need to problem solve. It probably means we're going to have administrators reach out to librarians around the state and pick their brains, so to speak, what are up and coming best practices or things we should be considering. We purchase new materials or we try to help teachers use the libraries effectively. So action plan is to contact the school districts that do have libraries. And that's actually very cooperative. Libraries are a dying breed. That's a license that is no school in the state of Oregon even provides anymore. You can't go to school and be a librarian, but we have to have access to licensed librarians through TSPC in order to meet this standard. This is one of the Division 22 ones that kind of keeps coming up. Is this really still appropriate? It used to be more appropriate, but I think what it was.
the one that looked like just screwed up, right?
And I think there is probably a higher level of value to technology, access, media, and doing that correctly and safely for our students than monitoring the collection of our physical books. So anyway, just on the bird walk, that is one of the Division 22 standards, and I don't think we're in compliance with that one either. So making sure we're in contact with a state licensed media specialist. North Bend used to have one. I'm not sure if they still do. That might be an easy set of conversations for the administrators and I to have. If not, we need to reach out to some of the bigger districts and figure out who they've got and how we can access them and pick their brains. So 3 areas, non-compliance for Division 22 this year. That report has to be submitted to the state, posted on our website, and we also need to make a report on it to the board prior to November 1st. So that's why we're doing it now.
Well, John, I was hearing at the library downtown, they were gonna reach out to the school, did they?
Yeah, we have some conversation. We haven't really engaged yet.
That was about 6 months.
Yeah. we've got our materials, our staff are in there. I'm in Highland, obviously, and I'm seeing teachers very regularly go in, read the kids, check out books. It's a different system than having a staff person making it efficient, but it's out. It just looks a little different right now. So that is superintendent report.
Quick, one quick. I had a question with this cell phone policy, why would we let it go on to 5 offenses before why would we stop it at 3?
I think just the habit of kids and phones and parent expectations and trying to really slow play the progressive discipline on that. Some of these kids treat those phones like oxygen. And so really having to change a thinking pattern so that when they're in school, they're there to be a learner. So I think it's a bit of a recognition and trying to over communicate a family, a student, trying to get somewhere, because being to the end where a student is suspended for possessing a cell phone seemed like a big step to, hey, you own a phone, it's in school, we're suspending you for it. So being a little bit more deliberate about those steps before we get to something that's really going to take them away from their learning.
But the reason they're getting offended is because of the usage, not just because they have it.
Yeah, they got caught with it somehow. And right.
Jerry, do we have a cell phone issue? Problem. I think we do, but I'm not there.
Is it an issue? Yeah, I mean, because they have cell phones, but do we police it as best we can? I think we do.
So kids are using them in class?
No,
They haven't-
not saying that if they get caught, they have teachers have a cell phone slip.
Okay,
They give it to the student brings the cell phone to the office puts it in a box in the vault. Office signs the slip, goes back to the student. It's not signed, then we know the student didn't make it to the office. Cell phone is a thing, and it's recorded as their first offense, second offense.
I got one about this fifth offense. Feel like I need about the second offense. Teeth come out. Do something, get their attention. Be 5 times. But, like I said, I'm not in there, so I don't see what's going on.
I haven't had anybody reach 5 yet, but I didn't know if you wanted expulsion hearings on a cell phone violation for 2 or 3 times. And the reason they're getting the expulsion hearing comes up is because it's a clear lack of failure to follow any policy of the school. Not specifically cell phone violation. They're not following a policy that we clearly put in place 5 times.
You will recall the high school, it has a pretty progressive but aggressive approach when the student is suspended 2, 4, 8 days, 4 days. And 4 days, that's a week of school. And that isn't a wake up call to the student and the family that this is a big deal. You're losing an entire week of school. Third time suspended is 8 days. That's 2 weeks of school. So students have 3.5 weeks out if they are at 8 days of suspension before they're coming up to expulsion. So aggressive, students know where they're at. It's very clear that we're serious about certain offenses being important and a student's obligation to be a student and be ready to learn, participate in the learning.
Are their parents notified of all violations?
When they're getting suspended, yeah.
Only when they get suspended? So the first time they get the ticket, are the parents notified? Okay.
These kids do realize this, they're doing this to themselves. They understand that?
We want to think so.
I mean, it's pretty simple, leave your cell phone at home or leave it in a locker or whatever, but it's,
Jack will bet you nickel they come in and say, I didn't know.
yeah, oh, yeah, kids are kids.
But they have to start taking some accountability. And I say that in jest, but I've been in high schools and know that they come in and they act like they're surprised. Should they be surprised? I don't know. So now we're being very clear with you, very direct. even though we gave it to you, even though we told you, even though we remind you, now we're directly talking to you. Done this, here's your information, please learn from it, here's our steps.
So the kids leave their phones in the lockers, during the day,
Or their cars.
and their cars are just not on their person.
Supposed to. But I don't search anybody.
Well, no, I don't imagine.
I suppose at lunchtime, the cafeteria is pumped full of cell phones. All are away and doing their thing.
At lunch, yeah, probably more so, not in the lunchroom, but in the library when they get in the meeting.
Yeah, I wish they could be better off without. Might talk to everybody, or maybe they'll figure out they need to go do an assignment. They can get,
Well, they know they have assignments to do now, so.
yeah, well, maybe we can help them along.
What's that?
Maybe we can help them along and say, you can use your cell phone after you get out of school. You still call mom and dad to come pick you up. You did this a total. Because they've done this to themselves, not us. We're just trying to help them. Because when they get out in the big world and they're working, and they come along and their boss finds them on a phone, they ain't gonna be around long. This is all training for the future. I know, I've worked with about 10 of them. Come break time, you had no problem knowing what they were doing. They're all staring at their phone. These are 25, 30-year-old men. So, yeah. It's a good learning curve. Leave your phone out of the school. But we'll see how it is.
Okay, any other questions for John?
No.
Thank you, John. The consent agenda, these are actions that are routine or usually call for no discussion sets, approving minutes of previous meetings, acceptance of donations, and similar actions are often handled together in one vote. I'd entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second the motion.
You
I make a motion.
Motion made by
Yeah, we accept.
Board Member Haley and seconded by Bob. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye. Aye.
I
Opposed? Nobody? Sorry, raised the wrong hand.
That was unanimous.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Action items.
Okay, integrated guidance program, annual response. This integrated guidance is one of the new reports we have to do. It is a pot of money. It composes, oh boy, six buckets, and off the top of my head, high school success is one. Because that's what we lost out on. It's 6 of the old programs combined into one new report. So instead of 6 individual reports, it's one large one. Essentially, we're paying for our school psychologists. We have some nurses built into that. We got a little bit of staffing, a little bit of CTE. CTE is one of the buckets. And as we use those dollars from the state, we have to report back how we're using them and that we're doing with the money what we said we were going to do. We haven't changed any of our positions on this and continue to pay for the same programs with those dollars. An action to approve it. We'll get it posted on the website. Be in compliance, receive those monies. Okay.
Does this act have to be taken tonight, John?
Yes, please. It doesn't change any of the expenses we've been using them for in the past. Uses all the things that we get from the state. For the SRO, we are covering this in there. Just trying to remember all of them off the top of my head.
The six of them,
What,
the six of them?
well, CTE and, high school success,
SAA,
yeah, student investment account
EIIS.
for intervention, but I'm trying to remember some of the specific
Oh, I would have charged it.
we fund the nurse, the SRO, school psychologist, part of the AD, yeah, CTE programming. So by using those dollars,
Double credit.
right, using those dollars, since they face some flexibility in the general fund because the state is allowing us to spend those dollars on certain areas, be more flexible with our general fund in other areas.
Told you about it.
Yeah. Two things. Yeah, Lauren helps us get these submitted in this thing. So for example, with nursing staffing positions, we're spending money on school nurses. Are we seeing improvements because we have school nurses? Some of these are pretty easy for us because, yeah, we're having a school nurse perform some of the functions of nursing duties. What has not happened. Long term, we want to see those things happening. Yes, we are. We don't have big curriculum-based initiatives where we want to monitor the amount of data or scores to see trends in improvement. Seeing is personnel, so we can work out the classes that we have or the services that we have.
So is it you that determines progress or not in
Yeah,
a school nurse, for
Yeah,
example?
if administrators or programs are noticing issues, we've had discussion with personnel about what we getting, what our performance looking. I should bring them back.
So then as a board, we have to approve what those growth targets are.
Well, we're approving the overall plan and continue spending with those dollars. And we haven't changed our plan. We're gonna continue to buy those personnel
Oh,
positions.
I see. Thank you.
Well, what happens if in the middle of the school year, there's a huge deficit and say what a school psychologist is gonna cost us, that school nurse is gonna cost us, and who eats that meal?
We own those positions. Those are contracted. So we set the rate. If the person leaves and we can't hire somebody, then we don't have. We can't spend much more because we've already budgeted the amount that we're gonna use for it. We used to have nurses contracted, for example, the ESV, we purchased them, we set our rate, and now we have a more predictable budget item. So could somebody leave the position? Yes, it would be empty. If we spend those dollars, we have to figure out a different way or return them to the state. But we're not gonna see a major fluctuation because we're setting that budget level.
And with financing through the state, the way it goes, I mean, if we end up getting a big hit, and there's a huge price jump and we're stuck where we can't afford to hire, a nurse, if she leaves because of funding, then what happens with this?
We consider reverting back to a contract and having to make a budget adjustment for next year in May. And increasing the amount of money we spend to what that contract service is. We have bargaining coming up with the teachers unions, and I think the trend that we see nationally and in the state right now is bargaining is fairly focused around increasing pay for teachers. That's an area of concern. We want to pay our teachers the best possible salary. They work their tails off. They deserve every penny that they get. And in the same regards, we have a limited amount of money to spend on that. And they deserve a raise. And that's where the bargaining has gone for the last 2 years. That's an area I'm a little worried about. They deserve it. And how are we going to afford it? That's probably a realistic concern. Cost of a CTE teacher could be impacted, for example, because that would be part of that bargaining agreement. The contract we set for the nurses, it's a set rate. That's on the schedule right now. I'm not worried about that one.
Okay. We're going to be ready to take action on this tonight.
I'm a little confused.
Yeah. That's, well,
Yeah. This is different about what we need more clarification on. All right, what we need more clarification on.
This LPGT, is that the pesticide? What is that? I hate acronyms. What are
It's longitudinal performance growth targets,
that?
longitudinal performance growth targets.
What does that mean?
This is term, the long range over 4 years, your performance, what is your data showing you, what is your evaluation showing you on your improvement, on your growth.
And it's required by the state.
They want accountability for all their money. They want to know that districts are spending it correctly, efficiently, getting the best bang for their buck. And how do they know? That's part of what we see through auditing books over the years. How do we know that the money we're spending is getting us better than we were yesterday?
I see that. Or it does, as an example, it's in the budget. Now, you kind of schedule that.
Yeah, so this integrated guidance is supposed to involve all community stakeholders, boards and community members. And so part of the requirement is that we do an annual report and we present it to the board, and we have to have board minutes showing that it was presented and approved, and then it goes to the website. It doesn't have any substantial meaning as far as what happens with the grant. It's just that it's a requirement of the grant.
So they don't have to achieve the goals set, they just have to have goals.
If we recognize, it's just like Division 22, if we recognize we're out of compliance or we're not achieving an area, then it deserves revisiting.
Okay,
If we're not getting the best bang for a buck, why? What do we need to fix? And when you look at, we're spending our money primarily on personnel, and the outcomes of students performing are there. If we're spending it on curriculum and on software, is that getting us the best bang for a buck? Should we be reviewing different curriculum, reviewing different software? So if something is not being successful, we don't want to keep throwing money at it. But we're not spending money on anything that is in here that has that kind of assessment to it. It's personnel. And
so this is more or less an accounting tool,
just
by
like
the
the,
state. So they're bringing all the money.
just like the Division 22.
Right, Gary, I got it figured out.
All right. The state needs to quit hiring more pencil pushers. That's what they need to do. And ask them to go from there. We'd have a lot less paperwork to deal with here.
Reach.
I was looking for a sample Motion, see.
You read it right off the action, please. Move to approve.
Okay. Bob, would you like to make that motion?
I move to approve the Oregon Department of Education Integrated Program Annual Response Narrative 23-25.
Second?
Second.
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Jack. All in favor, say aye and raise your left hand. Pass unanimously.
Next up, our maintenance director would like you to add 2 items to the IPM list of chemicals used by the district. It's an email from him. Top page or short that talks about speed zone, broadleaf herbicide EPA registration number 2217-833 and Roundup weed and grass killer super concentrate EPA registration number 71995-25. And these are acceptable under the low impact guidance for schools that we need to be paying attention to.
And John, you know, that was Mr. Chaffee that was going to class or going to school.
Yeah, he's getting training so that we can use him instead of having to hire applicators, vendors to do this work. But we need to add these 2 items so that we can use them.
Yeah, that's how it feels. It's all hard and stink bugs.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Bob, sorry.
This Roundup, is this the same chemistry that was in the lawsuit? So, because we needed a disclaimer from Michael, he's gonna, so we don't get sued 10
Yeah,
years.
it's not even on the market anymore. It's a
Okay.
completely different
It
chemical,
is,
different
okay.
Roundup now.
Okay, thank you.
The OSU low impact guidance that they provide is very up to date, and these 2 are on that list.
Okay, thank you. Motion we approve integrated pest management, APM chemicals used in our district,
As stated.
as stated.
Second? Yeah. Motion made by Bob, seconded by Jack to approve the integrated pest management chemicals used in the district as stated. All in favor, your left hand say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we move on to the OSBA policy updates. I mean, started into, and, you know, the tables and stuff.
Yeah, I'll help you out through this, Mr. Jones. OSBA routinely looks at legislation and court cases. And every time legislation comes in that impacts school district policy, they provide required, highly recommended, and recommended updates. So what we have presented here is following OSBA's recommendation, requirement list, highly recommended and recommended. Some objects are listed for deleting. You'll notice number 9 and 14 are listed as new and required. So as legal requirements in statute get updated, as court cases happen that cause rulings that affect policies, these updates come through. And this was part of the work that you guys did 6 months ago. Yeah, so with the presented actions for C, numbers 1 through 25, you were asked to make changes to the agenda for number 4 and 4A. And that number will be discussed in the November meeting. Everything else comes through as OSBA's requirements or highly recommended list as stated, including which ones to delete. When I spoke with Spencer Lewis on the phone, who is OSBA's lead lawyer, on these things. Items that are, there's a lot being deleted here. That's kind of like, why so much? Things are being wrapped up into different policies and combined in several cases, which is kind of nice that they're doing some consolidations. We don't have as many. You'll notice 4 and 5. 5 is going to be deleted and it gets picked up in the new version of 4 that you'll see in November. So things are being taken off. They exist in other places, so they're not just going away and in houses. That was also my concern, why so much being deleted. Updates make sense. Deleting was a little foreign.
And John, your standings will be presented in their entirety on the November meeting.
Number 4 and 4A will be presented with as the new language, so I would not include those in the action tonight. The others are okay. When you're ready, you could work through them line by line. You could probably make a motion in total. You have options, how you want to proceed.
I missed lots of question. Motion.
Compares this.
I just need to ask a question.
Mrs. Watt?
Yeah.
When is your, okay, no Sonic Lodge has the bicycle. We donate one bicycle to a student. I think it's every quarter, for attendance.
Yeah,
Do you know when that's coming up or is it already came when?
I think I can ask Mrs. Smart and email you tomorrow.
Yeah, email or give me a call.
Okay,
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay.
So we can get, we haven't voted on it, but it's all fine from this.
thank you.
Whatever, it's a done deal, and we're gonna do that for. We have 3 quarters,
Or,
4. Okay, we'll do one every quarter. One by the boy or girl, whatever.
okay,
Last year, we said, well, you know, we've probably sometimes it probably just doesn't, maybe we need to sign.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's pretty.
Hmm?
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, we had three of them last year, that one. Behind the ball on the Chicago. We'll catch you. Yeah, this is for attendance. Attendance. Yes, I'm sorry.
See where these were. Have you seen the new ones? Not finding any of the new ones, they'll take their part.
Jackson.
Which one you looking for, Harry?
The number 11. GBA, JBA, 7.
Number 11.
No, post.
Couple of these policies, I think GBN is one in particular, so you talked about number 11. Little minor technical changes. In this one, I think had a technical change on definition, the legal definition of consent. That affects the whole 8-page policy. They updated it. And so that is the required update, just change the legal definition of what consent is.
Run.
Page 2.
And it was like 5 pages.
Are there other ones I can assist with?
Yeah, you ready?
Anything you like.
Okay. Um, Can we can we make the motion as by using just the number, or do we have to call out the,
Yeah, as long as you're as stated in the agenda. So we have a document to track what the motion is addressing with each number.
I'd entertain a motion if anybody's ready.
I'll make a motion to accept the policy updates, action item C, OSBA policy updates, items 1 through 3 and 5 through 25 as presented in the agenda.
Second.
Motion been made by Bonnie, seconded by Bob to to approve the OSB policy updates 1 through 3 and 5 through 25, right?
Correct.
Okay. All in favor, say aye, raise your left hand. Aye. All opposed, nobody, that's unanimously, thank you. All right, moving on to discussion. Community listening sessions, topics when and where.
As you know, a quick reminder from earlier, the work session, the board had a desire to discuss is there a need for a cell phone policy and or a uniform policy and or a positive culture policy? And was wondering about a way to listen to the stakeholders of our community, maybe set up locations and times and dates to conduct listening sessions to ask that core question. Do we need these policies? And listen. So I think figuring out who your stakeholder groups are, you think need to be surveyed, approximate timeframes, and then Sharman and I will work at scheduling specific times and dates once we know generally who you want and how soon to get that completed by.
Any suggestions on how board would adapt this?
Well, the people I've talked to, they've all met with it's great. They said, one lady, she had 2 daughters and they just thought uniforms were just exciting adventure. They thought it would be great. And they all said, get rid of the cell phones. So probably a handful of people I've talked to about that. So it never kind of went in, you know.
So we need to come up with some key groups that we need to target and get the information out, solicit that information, right?
That would be, what I understood from your work session, yes. And you, those 3 can chime in. You were all part of that discussion at time of getting off base there. And you'd only go 2 at a time, 1 at a time, because otherwise you'd have a quorum of the board in a public meeting. So a listening session would be, you'd be sharing the workload amongst the 5 people.
Well, one of the ways she explained, she said, yeah, the uniform would be great at the school bottom. So then I started explaining to her that it was more, like a polo shirt, a perfect man's, basically what you would find for school, but they're all gonna go the same. She's not, well, okay.
So different groups we're talking about, maybe going targeting John for these, right? So maybe Rotary would be one that we could go and present it to any one of these, maybe all 3 of them, I don't know. The Rotary,
Brief.
Hospital Foundation.
Hospital Foundation.
I would suggest a parent group or a couple parent groups.
Yes, parent groups for sure, HBO and what they have for the high school. Sherry. Nothing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
But
not
we could do one, we could have a presentation in the auditorium presented to parents.
About our audience. Do you think they was interested?
Pardon? Boosters.
Boosters.
I think listening session to your student body.
Yes.
That'd be a fun one. I want to do that one.
Yeah, I'll go for the Rotten Tomatoes.
You probably just pull some community at large if you set it at a time you felt would possibly engage. And how many of those would you want to do? How many parent meetings would you want to do?
Well, we'd have to arrange it around the sports activities. They have to be of an evening. Right?
Okay. Random sports, evenings.
Can we interfere with that?
Saturday in the auditorium.
I'm gonna meet with the group. And I can talk to them about it. The, anyway, Republican committee here in town. I can talk to.
It's not kind of family nights at elementary school.
Yeah, I think our next one's scheduled. How much time do you want to spend on this? Is this, should you, a month, 2 months to conduct this?
Thinking, you know, if we get it started before the holiday, we could do it, take a month to do this and be. I think we get plenty of word out and have everybody an opportunity to chime in.
So advertise heavily for the holidays, take a month to do it over holidays.
Yeah,
Okay.
Is there a way, what's a good way, Dawn, to reach the parents and students, notifying them of these meetings?
Parent student, I think are easy because you've got those robo-dialer email systems. Community is tougher because you're relying on your Facebooks and your reader board signs to get out there. And hopefully you're in the radio bits, but you're hoping that people are hearing and seeing those. That's a trickier group. I think students and parents are easily reached.
Well, Johnny, you still on the radio? You still do your radio?
I record them on Thursdays and he plays them on Fridays.
Maybe you can ask the community that's listening to them, who would like to move there.
Is that still through Cadence?
Currently, Katie, I can put it on radio. Any other target groups that you want us to be paying attention to?
For the students, I think.
So, some listening sessions for the student body. Rotary Reef, Lower Umpqua Hospital, parent groups, HBO boosters, students, community. I mean, things you're missing, you want to do it before the holidays, take a month to do it, heavily advertise.
This holidays include Thanksgiving,
I would say.
and that's a month.
Yeah.
And that's not a lot of time, really.
To advertise, and you start between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So a month to advertise, and then a month to do it.
oh, I wouldn't think a month, and we wouldn't need a month to advertise, maybe two weeks. Say, you know, second week of November, we could maybe start having meetings. Our first target audience ought to be the students, I would think, so maybe Mrs. Watts, Mr. Ewing, you could have your office managers pick some dates so we could, a couple of us could come in and do a presentation to the students.
And staff, I would assume.
Pardon?
I know your staff has already spoken about it, but our staff too. Yeah. So what was John on that?
They got probably after school, probably a while. I said probably after school, because it will go a while. Well, from Stephen, if you get students.
Because everybody's there, just do it right after school for the most part, I mean.
Well, again,
I mean, if we did it during school, I wouldn't know how long, but, I mean,
yeah.
block off a time frame that I
in the
mean,
middle,
might,
so that,
Well, maybe sometime after 5 or 6, because people.
well, you won't get any students if it's after that.
Well,
Especially if, you know, you got football, volleyball coaches, you have to
right.
bribe.
Well, we're gonna get any students at 4 o'clock then, you know. I mean,
Well, right out of school, it's talk to the coach, we'll talk to coaches and say, hey, we need some
I
time.
mean, we could do it during school, I just think.
Maybe take the last period of the day before the kids get out and put a time limit on that.
We could. Any dates that you guys want to give us, just let us know.
Okay,
Andrew.
well, maybe you could look it over, Mr. Ewing, and give us a, you know, your best guess of what will be the best day, and then we'll pick that time. It'll be easiest on you and the staff and get it going.
We meet with the students, we have staff meetings every other Monday, first, third Mondays, something like that.
Right.
My grandson looks so handsome in his school uniform. Okay, do you have enough information, John?
Good. I can operationalize that.
Okay,
Good work.
good.
And any other community comments up there? Anybody can see? No. All right, let's move into board member comments. Bob? All right. Jackson? I just want to say, first of all, personally, thank you. I've received a lot of, attention and get well wishes and stuff, in my endeavors here in my personal life lately. And, you know, and it's not all been negative, so I was pretty impressed. So I live in a great community. Second of all, I'd like to, for everybody to recognize our food services coordinator, Tom Colbert. He's setting up, local programs to, feed our kids from locally grown fruits and vegetables and proteins. He worked out a deal with Fitzpatrick Raleigh on tuna and salmon. He's reached out to me. I'm working through the Cattlemen's Association to get locally grown beef to feed our students in our schools. And just talking to him this afternoon after my meeting with John, he was going to Roseburg and to pick up fresh vegetables and fruits over in Roseburg for our students for the cooks to use in our kitchen. So I just wanted to bring that up and say, great job, Tom. I appreciate it. And we're the talk of the town. I told, well, I got a phone call from Elton, one of the Elton guys saying, how's your guy doing that? I said, this is my phone number. Thank you very much. Send our kids back and I'll tell you. So thank you, Tom. And Bonnie.
Yeah, the community garden, I had, this has been a few weeks ago before it rained. I went up to the garden. My grandson wasn't able to, he was in school, so I was concerned about some of the vegetables that were growing there. So I went up and harvested a bunch of vegetables and took them to Highland. So this is Watts could share with the
Yeah,
staff.
and the staff, they were all gone. Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah, green sauce, everything. So thank you so much.
Oh, I was glad to do. I didn't want to see it go to waste, so,
And that's Jacob's work. Yes.
well, yes, part of Jacob. Not all Jacob, but yeah, so that's a great program and I just hope we can keep it going. Dr. Shimatakara, isn't he doing the?
Yes, we're in phase 2 right now. So we just finished phase 1 where we did the questionnaires. All of our families were given their last gift cards for the data results with his medical crew out of OSHU. And so this year it's really great. Our first grade teachers, Miss Foster and Miss Hoffman, will be teaching the life cycle and the plant cycle and all the good stuff. And then he'll come in and we'll grow our own plants in the greenhouse. And our first graders will be building their own gardens to take home.
Thank you.
I'm looking at my notes. I did have one thing. I had a person mention our pep band and our kid in the stands the other day. And it was pretty refreshing because I got to watch my nephew play down in another school down south and it was terrible. I mean, the rudeness and the derogatory comments, and they didn't know they were being filmed and it was still coming out. And then to hear and listen and hear the comments and stuff on our pep band and our kids, I mean, you kind of fills your chest with, you know, big old puff of air and pride, and it's nice to hear and Larry's doing a heck of a job with our pep band and the kids and the program he's doing there with the band and just hats off to, you know, our kids and our staff at the high school for, you know, things that are going so positive and I know it can be pretty treacherous going to band and that went pretty well from what I understand. I wasn't able to go, but I won't miss anymore, so I'll be able to witness it firsthand, so. Good job, for keep passing on the street news. Thank you. Okay, future agendas, November 7th through the 9th, annual convention up at Portland. Our little executive Pixie Sherman Tipton's gonna be attending that. No school on Veterans Day, November 11th. Thank you, veterans, for everything you've done. November 13th is the November board meeting, 5:30 PM, November 25th through the 29th. No school because it's Turkey Day break. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
John, can I catch you after this? Just for a question.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, audience, for attending.
Thank you.
Hey, John. John says about the, I was planning on going to the Otis again, I guess, but. That's what, the 30th?
Wait, right,
Sounds right, it's in Tuesday.